Welcome into Candlestick Chronicles, a 49ers podcast on the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Kyle Madson. I write about the 49ers over at NinersWire.com, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. Joining me right now, Chris Biderman. He writes for the Sacramento Bee, and we are sponsored by Lamb Chops. It's our favorite clothing brand. SGLambchops.com is the website. You can use the promo code Candlestick20 at that website to get 20% off your order, or you can follow them on Instagram. Actually, do both. Also follow them on Instagram at SGLambchops. Check out all their latest designs and styles. I'm personally a big fan of their hoodies, and I cannot wait for hoodie season.
Wow, yeah, I'm with you.
Neat. This is new.
We're since we have this technology on YouTube, we can actually show what the website looks like. Some screaming deals on some awesome shorts. You might have heard us talk about these animal print shorts over here. You can get them. You can get them on sale since
I need the shark shorts.
The summer season. Yeah, those shark shorts look pretty sick. Summer season's coming to a close. It's still warm in certain areas, including Sacramento. So still plenty of time to rock some shorts, but also hoodies. And hoodies look great. Our favorite hoodie over here is sold out, but that just speaks to how awesome Lamb Chops is.
But the micro sheet pullover hoodie may or may not be making an appearance at the Cooperage event.
Yeah, we love that. So again, quality, style, comfort, Cooperage. Sorry, Lamb Chops, all the above. I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's my fault. I inserted that thought in your brain. SGLambchops.com is the website. Candlestick20 is the promo code to get 20% off your order. Join the herd today. We're also sponsored by Cooperage Brewing, CooperageBrewing.com. So if you're listening on the pod, we are on YouTube now, youtube.com/Candlestick Chronicles podcast. And Chris has the Cooperage website up on the screen, and he's scrolling through, and he's ordering a case of of Candlestick Chronicles live right now. That's amazing. What a cool thing.
You can get your 4-packs. I think you have to buy a case in order to get it shipped to
Correct.
You anywhere within the state of California. 21 and up, obviously. You guys have heard me talk about Cooperage. It's super good.
It's so good.
It's really as good as any beer that's out there. Obviously, you really want to be the envy of your friends at the tailgate. Pull up with a 4-pack or 2 4-packs or 3 4-packs or an entire case of Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA. Everyone will be like, damn, that's the coolest can I've ever seen. And the beer is just as good to match. So, yeah, check it out. Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA. And Cooperage has a bunch of other beer, they even have a seltzer, whether you want an oatmeal stout, a pale ale, hazy IPA, California IPA. McCurdy Cove is very famous. It's sold at Oracle Park in San Francisco, speaking to the quality. So yeah, make sure you grab your Candlestick Chronicles Hazy IPA, because we know it does not last very long. We've had a number of runs now, and they tend to run out pretty quick.
It's going to sell out quick. CooperageBrewing.com is a website. And also 7 p.m. Saturday, September 23rd, our event, our live show at Cooperage Brewing in Santa Rosa. Come on out, drink beer. We're there to talk football. We have at least one confirmed guest. We're working on some more, and it's going to be a really, really good time. Did you confirm a second guest?
No, I didn't. I don't want to shout out our guy on the pod. Well, I'm sure we'll shout him out a little bit later, but we gotta start putting our thumb on pressing our thumb down on our buddy here. Make sure he shows up. He who will remain unnamed until we drop his name later in the pod.
Yeah, it booked 18 holes of golf to get him there, so fingers crossed he goes. All right, CooperageBrewing.com. Order your beer today. Let's talk football. We need to make a little intro video that we can play there on the stream. We'll make a video. It'll have our show intro on it. That way it'll be great. But anyways, the Niners take on the Rams week 2 at SoFi Stadium. And this is our What's on Tap game preview, brought to you by Cooperage Brewing. I think the 49ers are going to roll the Rams.
Yeah, that's kind of the consensus, right? Yeah. That's kind of the consensus. Week 1 to week 2 is always weird generally, right?
Yeah,
there tends to be a lot of the pendulum swinging the other way in week 2. I think what's more likely to happen is the pendulum swings back on the Rams in terms of how good they look versus Seattle versus the opponent they're actually getting Sunday in their home opener at home. Home opener at home. And their home opener at SoFi. I think, rewatching that Seahawks Rams game, I said it earlier in the week, but I just thought Seattle looked awful. And I don't really know that there's a whole lot to take away from that game in terms of trying to evaluate the Rams. I think Matt Stafford looked great, but I think Seattle's defense was in a bad spot with really no pass rush. I thought obviously Seattle was missing Witherspoon, their first round cornerback. That maybe made things a little bit easier. There's always the element of week one and the schematic stuff that you're sort of unprepared for if you're the Seahawks going against the Rams. So for me, it's is this at all a trap game? I would be stunned if it were. If the Niners, given the intensity the 49ers played with in Pittsburgh, if that didn't carry over into week two and the amount of urgency they played with and how much clearly getting off to a strong start this season means to them for seeding purposes, I just don't think the 49ers are too experienced to just go into LA kind of sleepwalking in my opinion. So is it a trap game? Maybe. I kind of doubt it. I think the Rams might be a little bit better than what their talent says it is, but I still think, to your point, the 49ers should roll in this one.
Yeah, I think if the Rams had just snuck by the Seahawks last week or lost to the Seahawks, I might be a little more worried about the Niners trying to toss their jerseys on the field and go. But especially with a Thursday night game coming up in week 3. But LA looked really, really good against Seattle. At least in the second half they did. But the thing I keep coming back to is Matthew Stafford looked really good, but he was 10 of 18 on throws beyond 10 yards, beyond 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And he was only pressured on, hang on, where are my numbers here? He was only pressured on 9 of his 39 dropbacks, which is not a lot. And I don't think Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua are going to go for a combined 238 yards receiving against this Niners defense. It's just, the Niners are, if week 1 taught me anything, it's that the Niners are still pretty significantly more talented than Seattle is. Yeah. And I think that's going to show up against the Rams. I don't think, I do think Matthew Stafford's good. I've always kind of been a Stafford apologist, and I don't think he's necessarily washed, and I think we saw that on Sunday. But it wouldn't shock me at all if coming out of week 2, the consensus is, oh, Matthew Stafford is not as good as he was in week 1. Because he was really freaking good in week 1. He wasn't like prime Matthew Stafford.
He wasn't moved off his spot hardly at all.
Exactly.
Watching that game. And the 49ers pass rush should be miles better. The Rams are going from playing arguably one of the worst pass rushes in the league to the Niners, who have arguably one of the best, obviously. And Nick Bosa is probably going to look better than he was. I didn't think Nick Bosa played poorly, but in terms of the splash plays you're used to seeing from Bosa, they just weren't really there. I would expect them to come back in this game on Sunday, particularly against a Rams offensive line that just isn't very good. And I don't think the Rams are going to be able to run the ball. And when you allow the 49ers to pin their ears back, and if the Niners can score and jump ahead early, which they probably will, then it's going to be exceedingly difficult for the Rams to stick around in the game. So weirder things have happened. We know the Niners have won 9 in a row, or 8 of 9 against the Rams, 8 in a row in the regular season.
In the regular season, yeah.
Yeah, not including the NFC Championship game. But I still think the NFC Championship game still bothers them. That's really sort of the source of inspiration, I think, for the Niners. Yeah. Obviously, you want to win the game, but there's a little bit extra when you're going to the spot where they lost the NFC Championship game after the 2021 season. So yeah, Andrew makes a really good point here, but
this is something I wanted to talk about. What Andrew posted in the chat. So Andrew on the YouTube chat said Rams had less than 2 yards rushing per attempt. Staying one-dimensional against the Niners defense probably means 2+ Bosa sacks. That's a huge key for me in the Rams' performance last week. Matthew Stafford was great, And that's awesome for the Rams. And their rookie receiver, Puka Nacua, had 10 catches and 119 yards, and Tutu Atwell broke out. Oh, God. They ran it 40 times for 92 yards.
Yeah.
That's not going to fly against the 49ers. And if they're not able to run the ball, then I don't think Stafford's going to get to sit back and pick a defense apart the way he did last week.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And the big question, like broader picture for me, is the start of this season going to look like 2019 when the 49ers are just steamrolling everybody?
It kind of feels like it.
It kind of feels like we're headed there, right? Like,
and that's what I said going into week one was if they lost, I wouldn't panic because it's week one. But if they looked great, I would think that they were going to rip off like 4 or 5 in a row to start the season. And that's kind of where I'm leaning.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, I generally try to avoid being super hyperbolic, but like the Super Bowl, the singular focus on winning the Super Bowl seems to be there. Like this team, I think, and it's been written about a bunch, but this team is really cognizant of the fact that this window is not going to be open forever.
Yep.
And this group of players is not going to be around forever. And so while it's here, before Brock Purdy starts, potentially making $40-50 million a year, whatever he's going to make in a few years, if he ends up signing a second contract, like it's going to be really difficult to keep this band together, even starting this offseason when you talk about Brandon Ayuk getting a contract, and potentially having to, they have space, they roll it over. That's a different discussion, but just like,
sure,
there seems to be a singular focus on getting to the Super Bowl this year. And they've been, this is a battle tested team. Obviously they've been in the position where, they've sleptwalked or just played poorly early on in the season. Everyone is largely healthy, right? Like George Kittle's dealing with whatever he's dealing with. But other than that, it seems like all their best players are healthy, and they all just understand that like we can't drop games early in the season because they are so focused on getting that 1 seed, because we've seen them go to the Super Bowl when they had the 1 seed.
Yep.
They want to host the NFC Championship game. I think ultimately that's the goal, and that's why you see them come out with the intensity, with the focus that they had in week 1. And with a division opponent against the Rams, who beat them in the NFC Championship game a couple of years ago, they're still going to look at that as motivation. Even if Cooper Kupp isn't out there, even if Von Miller and all those guys that helped the Rams win that game are not there, they're still, walking into that building. There's still, I think there's still that feeling for them. And I would just be really surprised at this point, given everything they've been through, if they just thought they could sleepwalk with a win over the Rams.
I love the idea that anytime they face a player from that team, they just lock in. And they host the Ravens on Christmas Day. They're going to be like, is that Odell Beckham Jr.? Oh, dial it up, boys. That's a super funny idea to me. So this game specifically, the Niners and Rams are both 1-0 atop the division. And the Cardinals are 0-1, Seahawks 0-1. And I know it's only week 2, so I don't want to blow this way out of proportion. But the winner of this game would be in a really, really good spot in the top of the NFC West, where the Cardinals are not going to be very good. And I don't think they're going to lose I don't think they're going to beat the Giants at home. And then Seattle has to go play Detroit in Detroit. I don't know if you saw Detroit Ford Field during the Lions road opener, but it was packed and loud for a road game of people just watching on the Jumbotron. So I think that's going to be a really hard place to play. I think the Lions are going to be pretty good, and I think Seattle's going to lose. So if that happens, it's 2 teams at 0-2. The winner of this game is the only 2-0 team in the division, and they have the tiebreaker over the 1-1 team. And they're 2 games up on 2 other teams. Like I said, it's an 18-week season, so that may wind up not mattering. But when you just kind of start projecting out long-term and you're looking for reasons for the Niners to not overlook a team that has a bunch of players that they probably don't even recognize, then I think that's one of them, where they're looking at this going, there's an opportunity to wrap up this division. Would they wrap it up in week 15 last year? To wrap it up around that same time frame again this year.
Yeah, it was that Thursday night in Seattle, that December game. I forget which week it was. But yeah, I just, I think it'll just be one of those games where we learn about sort of the maturity of the team.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They could easily walk
in. Is Brock
in.
Purdy ready for this moment? I'm sorry. Keep going. That was tough.
They could definitely walk in and just be like, yeah, we're just going to roll these dudes, and then kind of get hit in the mouth. And then it turns into like an intense game. Like that could absolutely happen. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But what I'm expecting is them to be like, no, we know we cannot mess around early in the season, and we just have to put our foot down. Like the Rams, bottom 5 roster in the league. Is that fair? Particularly without Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, without Cooper Kupp for sure. But when you have Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald and Matthew Stafford, it's hard to be like they're bottom 5. But it went top to bottom probably.
Yeah, in terms of depth, like
I don't know. Let's go through each roster. Okay, Carolina. No. I'm looking at these PFF pass rushing stats because I think that's where the tone is going to get set for the Niners. Even if they get the ball first and they go down and score, if they're not getting a pass rush on their first drive, on their first defensive drive, I think that's going to spell a little bit of a problem. But if they're hitting Matthew Stafford on the first series and they get a sack or they force a fumble, I think that there's a chance that this game just kind of snowballs for LA. I went to go look at Seattle's pass rushing grades on PFF. Pro Football Focus has Seattle down for 11 pressures in week 1, 2 quarterback hits, no sacks. Their highest graded pass rusher was safety, Kobe Bryant, with a 64.3 pass rushing grade. That's like booger green. It's an ugly shade of yellow, I guess, is the right. And I don't think that's because the Rams have a dominant offensive line.
No,
I think it's because
not.
Seattle can't pass rush anybody. And then if you flip that the other way, one of your concerns for the Niners, right, is the right side of their offensive line. But you go and you look at the Rams' top pass rushers. Have you heard of any of these players? Aaron Donald. No.
Yes.
Michael Hecht. Hoeket? Hoecht?
He is the dude who I think is going to be a mark. Like Kyle Shanahan has circled 97 and is like, he's going to be the dude that is on an island trying to cover like Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Kyle Juszczyk even. Like watching that game against Seattle, he's like an outside linebacker. So he just looks like Kyle Shanahan is just licking his lips. Like I'm going to run this guy ragged all over the field and target him as much.
Hey, bro. Have you ever looked at a picture of Michael Hecht?
I have not. No, I just watched him play.
He looks like Brendan Fraser if Brendan Fraser never got famous. I think that's the best way I can describe this man's face.
I feel I feel so much more confident in my take knowing that though. Thank you.
He definitely. This is the worst guy at the club. Every time you go to the club, this is the guy standing outside of Omni in Vegas in a button-down shirt and jeans and bitching that he's been in line for an hour and 15 minutes.
Sure.
Anyways.
I can see that.
I mean, I don't like his face.
Just complaining about how he knows one of the promoters. He's like, bro.
1,000%.
Bro, just ask Steve. Tell Steve I'm here, man. Rolling
I heard the Beastie Boys were going to be there.
5 dudes and no girls. And just tell Steve I'm here.
Ernest Brown the Fourth. Do anything for you?
Yeah, I mean we can do this. We can do this with the entire Rams roster.
Zach Van Valkenburg.
That's not a real person.
Zach Van Valkenburg looks like Baker Mayfield, but with a shit-eating grin on his face. That's what I didn't know
till week 1. Ahkello Witherspoon was a starter for the Rams.
Yeah, did you see he's hurt because he got lit up by DK Metcalf?
I did.
That's a tough scene
but
for my guy.
I think he was a full participant in practice. So I think Christian Brothers' finest is going to be back.
Love to see that for Ahkello. CU's finest.
Yeah.
Go Buffs.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, I don't think I don't think the Rams are going to be able to get after the quarterback, and I don't think they're going to be able to block the 49ers. And
no, I don't think so
when that's
either.
the case in a game, it's just really hard to imagine the Rams coming out and finding a way to win it. The talent gap is just vast.
Their only hope is Aaron Donald just like feasting on Spencer Burford. And I don't even think that's like Kyle Shanahan, as much of a headache as Aaron Donald is. Kyle Shanahan has figured out ways to sort of negate Aaron Donald by way of pop passes to Deebo Samuel, quick passing game, play action. Like there are a lot of different things that Kyle Shanahan has in his arsenal to get the ball out of Brock Purdy's hands quickly, particularly since the 49ers have so many good pass catchers available to Brock Purdy. So it's like, unless the Rams score 30 points and the 49ers have to drop back 45 times, I just have a hard time seeing the Rams being able to dictate anything to the Niners. And if the Niners are dictating everything and the defense is playing well and they have a good mix of run and pass and they're able to utilize play action and all that, I don't see any world where the Rams keep this close.
Do the Rams get in the end zone 3 times?
No.
I don't think so either.
If they do, the third one's like garbage time.
Yeah. I don't think they have the horses. They're not built for this. And I think they're going to be fine. I don't think the Rams are going to be terrible. The fact that Sean McVay had him as ready to play as he did in Seattle was impressive. And some of the performances they put out were definitely impressive. And I think McVay, with so many young players, is going to have them motivated to play every week, where it's not going to be just super easy to play the Rams like it might wind up being super easy to play the Cardinals or whatever. But like I said earlier, the talent disparity between these two teams, when you just start stacking up player for player, is so wide.
Completely agree.
Like if we're drafting players from the Rams and Niners, Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp are in the top 8 or 10, right?
Aaron Donald's probably one of the first 3 players you take.
Yeah, I think so too. And
maybe
then
even
Cooper
the first
Kupp.
one.
And then we'll say they're 2 of the first 5 picks. We'll just go with that, whether it's true or not. And then how long do you have to go before you get to another Ram?
I mean, you're
Probably
taking Stafford like 7 or 8.
You sure?
In that scenario?
Yeah. Man.
I mean, but take away the non-quarterback picks. Like, it's like Tyler Higbee taking him like 12th.
Maybe. I mean, what does Tyler Higbee do better than Charlie Werner? Tell me that.
Play football.
Stop. That's mean. That's so mean.
It's not,
this is the other thing. Aaron Chernus in the YouTube chat. Again, youtube.com, search Candlestick Chronicles podcast and subscribe there, please. If you're watching live, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're listening on the pod, subscribe wherever you get your pods. No, keep this one up there. He says no penalties limit Aaron Donald, and I would agree with the no penalties thing. They had 11 penalties last week. That's way too many.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Colt McKivitz is going to be somebody definitely worth watching. We talked about it a little bit on the pod earlier in the week, but I think the 49ers are prepared to like check out the trade market for tackles if Colton McKivitz just is a real liability.
If not, famous Brendan Fraser just gets loose on Colton McKivitz, there'll be a problem.
They'll need to make a trade like next week.
How do I screen share? I want to show everybody what I'm looking at here.
Hit present.
This is good.
Inside baseball here.
This is good potting. Yeah. I'm making sure there's nothing egregious on my computer here before I share. Okay, so I hit this. Where do I hit present? Present. I see.
Share screen.
Bang bang.
Choose your window.
All right, this is great for the audio.
Yeah, really good.
Right,
what you got?
Share screen. There we go. Okay, see,
okay. Let's move on.
All right. No, hang on.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, baby. Look at this guy's face. Look at this face.
Why is it taking so long?
Because my computer's hella old.
Okay.
Look at this man's face. Is this man cooking the 49ers? Is this man getting loose on Colton McKivitz? No chance. If the Mummy doesn't exist, if the Mummy franchise never happens, and instead of Brendan Fraser, they ask somebody else to be in Scrubs, Brendan Fraser is sitting at home looking exactly like this right now.
They don't even have his DOB, man.
A little bit sad. Like a little bit sad in the eyes. Michael Hecht. He's gonna have like 6 sacks on Sunday, and I'm gonna.
I wasn't super impressed with old 97.
Yeah.
You want to take a quick break for the audio version, and then get back to our prize picks?
Yeah, definitely.
Cross-platform.
Shout out. We're so multimedia, bro.
For sure.
Multimedia AF.
All prize picks. How many picks did you make? Because I got 4.
Prize picks time.
Yeah.
I have 3 picks.
Okay. I'll do 3 and then a bonus one.
I'm such a ween when it comes to this stuff, man. I talk myself into something and then I just decide that I'm going to be wrong.
Sure.
Like, I love doing the daily fantasy stuff with Prize Picks. It's super fun. I've been on there every single day, jumping through all the different sports, watching college football on Saturday, jumping on Prize Picks. I have the app. You can also go to prizepicks.com/candlestick. And if you use promo code Candlestick while you're there, they'll match your deposit up to $100. And I'm on Prize Picks, and it's great. They have first half stuff. They have second half stuff. So I got in late on the Colorado-Nebraska game, but I got an entry put together for the second half of that one. And it's just a way more fun way to watch sporting events that don't involve teams that you like or cover.
Yeah.
And so the daily fantasy element of all this has been super fun.
The more than or less than, yardage stuff is super fun to play. And you can do flex plays, you can do power plays. The flex play is safer. Like you can make 4 plays and you can miss one but still cash in, whereas a power play is exponential, right? So you have to hit all of them. To hit, but it's and you can cash out at like 5x multiples, even more, depending on how many entries you play. So yeah, it's super fun. It was a little frustrating last week with Kenny Pickett hitting the more than like late in the game in garbage time, but I feel good about my picks again this week. I felt good about them last week. I think I would have cashed out if I did a flex play rather than a power play, but I'm liking what I got so far this week.
See, that's where I always go flex play because I don't believe in myself.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thanks.
That's fair.
All right. I'm going to start with mine. And
I believe in you. Can we say that? I believe in you.
Thanks, dog. Preach. So the first entry I have on my entry is I have Christian McCaffrey more than 66.5 rushing yards. And I was looking this up today. Christian McCaffrey, since Brock Purdy took over in week 13 last year, has 3 games where he has fewer than 66.5 rushing yards. One was a blowout win over Washington where he only played 75% of the snaps. There was the week 18 blowout win against Arizona where he played half the snaps. And then there was the playoff game against Dallas where Dallas's defensive line cooked. Other than that, he's gone well over 66.5 rushing yards in all of them. So I'm going with more than 66.5 rushing yards for Christian McCaffrey.
I like it.
Second, I have Deebo Samuel, more than 50.5 receiving yards. The fact that he only had 5 catches last week for, I think it was 55 yards, makes me think that this might be a big game for Deebo. He always seems to kill the Rams. He might get 50.5 on one short throw that he breaks 6 tackles and takes to the house. So I really like Debo to have a big week this week. I'm going more than 50.5 yards there. And then,
I also have that one. Can I just say
yeah,
Debo has more catches, more yards, and more touchdowns against the Rams than any other team. And he catches 81% of his targets against the Rams typically. So yeah, 48 catches, 48 targets, 39 catches, 555 yards, 6 total touchdowns. I also have Debo in the more than yardage play. I like that a lot. We can talk about why, but I think this is going to be like an example of like, oh, Brandon Ayuk went off one week, Christian McCaffrey went off, and then the next week it's Debo and it's somebody else. I think it's going to be game plan and matchup specific. Like the Niners, as good as they are from like a fantasy perspective, might end up being really frustrating because you're like, oh, Ayuk blew up. Like I'm just going to play him every week, and then it's like, yeah, he was a little quieter while Debo or someone else went off.
Yeah, and I think Debo just plays, and this is one of those stupid football things that I can't quantify, but I think Debo just plays a brand of football the Rams can't play. It just they don't they don't ever seem inclined to match his tenacity. At least in the instances I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Even in was it week 2 last year, the Monday night game against the Rams, where he had that sick leaping catch and then broke a bunch of tackles and scored a touchdown.
It wasn't. That was an early October game.
Okay, so it was early in the year.
It wasn't week 2, but early in the year. Yeah.
And that was Debo when he was quote unquote awful and sluggish. So I'm right there. There's so much versatility with this offense. I think 50.5 receiving yards, more than 50.5 receiving yards is a lot.
He averages 79.3 receiving yards against the Rams.
Oh, jeez, that's wild. So. My third selection here is Rams tight end Tyler Higbee. I'm going less than 45.5 receiving yards. It's really hard for tight ends to get loose against the 49ers. So, no pun intended.
Sure, I like that one. All right, I went Matt Stafford more than 228.5. I just think this game has a chance
garbage time
to get away from the Rams, and there could just be like Stafford throws for 150 yards in the fourth quarter.
I really like that pick by you.
Yeah, 228.5 just seems like a really low number, and it might not even be indicative of like how the game goes. Like the Niners could dominate the game, and then like we look up and like, oh, Stafford threw for like 280. That's not that bad, but like I said, like 150 of them come in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I went Debo more than 50.5 receiving yards. I think that's a layup based on all the information we've had. George Kittle, I have more than 40.5 receiving yards. I just think it's, like the same thing that we say about Debo sort of applies to Kittle in that like he generally plays really well against the Rams, and a lot of his in terms of like opponent stats, a lot of his best numbers are against the Rams. And like the reason I said, like, I think Ayuk could be a little quiet this week because we see Debo and Kittle go off. Okay. I think that's what it's going to look like. Cause like Kittle, it felt like was not really part of the passing game because he was needed to block a lot last week. And it feels like, the pendulum will swing the other way a little bit on that this week. So those are my 3. My bonus one, Cam Akers, fewer than 32.5 rushing yards. And this is solely about the fact that I think Kyron Williams is going to end up leading them in carries.
Okay.
So I don't think the Niners are going to give up many rush yards at all. But if they do, I think Kyron Williams is going to be the guy that gets more carries than Akers. So I'm going as a bonus pick, fewer or less than 32.5 rushing yards for Cam Akers.
One of the things I learned on Prize Picks is that they don't do, and this is why I like your Stafford pick even more, they don't do net passing yards. So they don't take away the yards lost for a sack. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think another big key to the game is just like you hit Stafford.
That might be wrong.
You hit Stafford once or twice, like early on. Like that's he's the type of quarterback at this point in his career where you hit him hard once or twice, and he's tough as hell, right? This isn't to say he's not
Right.
tough, but like you hit him early on, and it could impact him for the rest of the game. He's just dealt with so many different injuries, and all the credit in the world to him. He plays through all of his injuries, but like he's definitely the type of dude where you could get him early in the game and it sort of sets a tone, like, and he just can't get comfortable because he's taking shots. And that's ultimately what happened in Seattle, right? Like you pointed it out, they didn't hit him hardly at all. They didn't move him off his spot, and so he was able to get real comfortable in the pocket. He's the type of guy where, given the injuries that he's dealt with, you can rough him up a little bit, and I think that's how you get some picks late in the game too.
Yeah, starts getting rid of the ball a little bit early, starts bringing his eyes down, looking at the defensive line. I'm right there with you, and it feels like Stafford is good for 2 interceptable passes a game, at least, just by virtue of being a gunslinger and trying to either take a shot or trying to fit a ball in a tight window. Yeah, I think the game script is really, really nice for your picks. Where you're
Rams
going,
are wearing. How do you feel about the Rams wearing their white uniforms at home?
Hey, here's an original joke. That's what teams wear on the road.
Oh, right, because it's Levi's South.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice. Yeah, clever.
I'm the 8,000th person to say that.
I just like why.
I don't get
why?
I don't know. Maybe it's because they won in their white uniforms last week, and so they don't want to mess up the mojo. But it's just feeding into the bit.
I mean, I don't.
The whole stadium's going to be red.
Right. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, at least like lean into, like, it's your home stadium. Wear your home uniforms.
Right.
Like,
give out blue T-shirts. And wear blue. What are? It's a layup. But like I said, maybe it's a mojo thing.
But I do think if they go white jerseys with the yellow pants, like that's probably their best overall look. I would argue, unless I don't know how often they go with their new uniforms, the blue pant or the blue uniforms and yellow pants. I just think they should always wear their yellow pants. I think they're bone uniforms.
You're out on the blue pants? You're out on the blue pants?
I'm out in general on just like monochrome like uniforms, like the same color on the jersey and the pants. I'm just generally out.
Okay. That's fair. And you're also big on multicolored socks.
Yeah. You need contrast with the socks. The socks cannot be the same color as the pants. You just look like you're wearing a unitard in that case.
Excellent.
Yeah, the Whose House Rams House thing is probably the most annoying chant in the NFL.
Yeah, especially I don't love it. Like, they really thought they did something there and they didn't. So
right. Especially the thing is with it, it's like it's one thing if a PA guy goes Whose House Rams House like once, but he does it like 6 times in a row. And it's like, God, man, we get it.
It's like there's no the crowd's not participating.
We know whose house this is.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not going to win the chanting battle when it's like 70% Niners fans.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the Niners are up there with the 300 chant.
I was right about to bring that up. I was just gonna like punt that to Narnia, dude. That is from Candlestick, and not even like an OG Candlestick thing. That is from Candlestick, like 2013. Get rid of it. Yeah. It's done.
I don't think the crowd participates in it. I think it's like, I don't know. Did 300 as a movie age all that well?
I don't think so. It's definitely that movie that came out when people of our age were like high school / early college. And it was just and just Gerard Butler was just a revelation as Spartacus or whatever his name is. And he's kicking dudes into pits. Yeah. Like, that's like The Matrix. Okay. I recently watched The Matrix for the first time.
We're off the rails.
Didn't age great.
Really?
No, it gets fine. But I could see why it was mind-blowing in 1998 or whatever. whenever that came out. But now I'm just like, okay, it's fine. Anyways.
Final prediction. What's your score for the Niners-Rams?
I think, another prize pick I'm going to be checking for. I haven't seen it yet on the board, in the app. But if Brock Purdy's more than less than TD passes is 1.5, I'm going more than, and I'm going to put together an entry just to have that selection.
We can check right now.
Brock Purdy has gone 2+ touchdown passes in every single one of his starts as a pro in the regular season.
He's at 1.5 more than less than.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna build one. I'm gonna build a prize picks entry right now with the more than that. And
he's never had fewer than 2, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm gonna ride with him on that, and I think the Niners win 34. I think they win 34-20.
I like that. I'll go 30 to 17 with the Rams, with it being like 30 to 10, and then like the Rams getting a cheap touchdown late. I think Kittle's going to score twice.
Okay. I think
he might have both Brock Purdy's touchdown passes, or two of Brock Purdy's touchdown passes.
Love that prediction. I think the Rams might come out and like score on their first drive and maybe look good doing it, where Sean McVay is just in his bag and he's throwing a bunch of curveballs at the Niners and they're just not ready, and the Rams go down and score, and the broadcast is like, oh, and the Rams picking up where they left off last week, blah, blah, blah. And then the gas runs out immediately.
Yeah, that's what happened in the 2019 game. You remember, like, the Niners went down
Which
there.
One?
The one in LA.
Week
at the
7.
Coliseum. Yeah, in 2019. I think the Rams went down and scored pretty easily on their first drive.
I think they ran it 7 times.
Yeah, and then the Niners just whooped their ass the rest of the way.
Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah, not Jared
Tevin
Goff's
Coleman had a touchdown in that one. Jimmy Garoppolo had a rushing touchdown, I think.
Kittle had a couple big plays in that game for sure.
Well, and that was the one. So that was a game where I think Justin School started at left tackle.
Yeah, Niners
if I'm remembering correctly.
Niners were missing both tackles in that game.
And Juszczyk. And Ross Dwelley played fullback.
Yeah. Ross Dwelley. Yeah.
And it was, I think the Niners like first or second offensive snap. I might be misremembering this. But Aaron Donald lined up on the edge, and I don't think School got a hand on him. And Donald just blew past him.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I don't know, they stopped that. I don't know. The Rams are going to do that all game. I don't know what they're going to do.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I had another thought.
That was tough.
It's eluding me. At the moment. But yeah, I think the Niners win pretty comfortably.
Me too.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Make sure to go to prizepicks.com/candlestick. We need to make a banner for this. prizepicks.com/candlestick. Promo code is candlestick. You get a deposit match up to $100. It's legit been having such a good time doing the daily fantasy thing. And we'll be doing it Sunday. We'll be absolutely putting together some entries on Saturday for college football. The college football ones are funny because it's just caution to the wind. It's all vibes for me.
Was the Wood Gravy ass in the chat the one where Sean McVay ran into the end zone?
That was week 18, 2021.
That was the week 18, 2021.
Yeah, they went up 14-0, and McVay was down there in the end zone, and nothing was the same.
There's got to be some element of the Niners just like mentally having the edge over the Rams.
Yeah, even if it's subconscious, or if you're Sean McVay and you know that the Niners have just kind of had your number, do you go into the game plan and like, okay, I'm thinking this, but they know I'm thinking this, so actually we're going to do this, but then they know that I know that they know. Like, and that just kind of spirals. Like I said, I'm not inside his head, but I could definitely see that being a thing.
One more prediction.
Says Kyle Shanahan isn't inside his head, but the Niners just kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways,
one more prediction. Speaking to that point, how much the Niners are in Sean McVay's head. I think we see something tricky on special teams, whether it's a fake punt or an onside kick, or some from the Rams to try to get a spark, since they know they're at pretty substantial disadvantage.
Yeah.
So
I could see that.
I had something really smart to say, and it's eluding me, and it's annoying. So
you mentioned you said something tricky on special teams, and I was like, from the Niners.
Is Jake Moody going to handle kickoffs today? Is the third round
on Sunday?
Round kicker, or it's Sunday? Is the third round kicker gonna participate?
I'm gonna go Jake Moody more. I'm gonna go Jake Moody more than half a kickoff. I think he's gonna do it. I think our guy's dialed.
I just hope his leg's better, man. It's got to be tough. I'm sure he's really battling
for him. I'm genuinely so happy for him. I lifted up my hat, and my hat left a giant red mark in the middle of my forehead. Yeah, no, I genuinely, I would have really felt bad for him as a person if he just blew it in his NFL season opener.
No, he had a good game. Now let's just, one of the big reasons they brought him in was because he has a big leg for kickoffs. Like,
yep.
Battle through your little quad injury, guy, and let's get this thing going.
Okay. I'm not one to talk. I stopped playing golf because my feet hurt. So
well, if you were whatever the equivalent of being a third round pick in golf is, and you were like dealing with hurt feet, I would make fun of you just the same. But like, just grit through your leg injury, third round kicker. Let's do this.
Okay, I'm done talking about this now. Subscribe, rate, review, do all that.
Yeah, hey, give us likes on YouTube. We very much appreciate it. That'll help the algorithm. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify, wherever you listen. All that stuff helps a lot.
It sure does.
We're venturing into this new world of YouTube, so any help we could get would be greatly appreciated. And I'm sure we have some loyal listeners who are migrating over to YouTube. So spread the word, tell your friends, and we very much appreciate all the support. And come to Cooperage September 23rd, Saturday,
please.
7:00.
Yeah. Please come out. It's going to be super fun. We're there to hang out with y'all. So we're going to do a quick little live show that's not recorded. We have a great time with it. We drink beer. We talk football. We eat really good food with whatever food trucks out there. And well, have a good time. So thanks everybody for listening, watching, and we will talk to you next time.
Wood Gravies,
hope you have more to say.
Just shout out to you. The camera's exactly the same. I just improved the lighting.
Well, but no, is your head spacing, which I think you've now messed up because you're leaning more forward now. Yeah. Rule of thirds, dog. Come on.
Okay. Rule of thirds. Okay.
Yep.
Whatever. We got to get out of here.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.